everyone. Welcome to AHS Countdown. I'm your host, Max Wesman. I'm joined by co-hosts Taylor Gottney and Alex Franken. Today we got a good one on our hands. It's the number 6 Dothan High Wolves hosting the number 5 Auburn Tigers. This is the 5th ever time that these two teams have met, and it's a very one-sided series, and I mean that literally. I mean, Dothan's never won. Auburn is 4-0 in this series, and we'll see if Dothan can finally get a win on the slate. The last time these two teams faced was last year in the second round of the playoffs, and Auburn won by a score of 48-20 at home. With that being said, let's start off with the number 6 Dothan High Wolves. They are currently 2-0 overall this season, as well as 1-0 in the region with a win last week over Percy Julian. Absolutely hammered them 42-6 at home. 2 weeks ago, they beat Carroll at home by a score of 63-14. That result was actually huge for them because not only was it a confidence booster for their team to start off the season, but they also set a program record in points in a game with 59, as well as margin of victory at 45 points. And considering this is only Coach Jed Kennedy's second season as head coach of the Wolves, it is certain to say that he has the program on the right track. All that being said, what are some things that this Dothan team needs to do to secure the win tonight?
Yeah, I mean, on the offensive side, they're scorching hot right now. Like you said, 59 points a game. They actually have a total of 101 points in their past 2 games, which that doesn't happen a lot in high school. I mean, we saw it with Auburn. But yeah, they're a historically decent offense. They're not the powerhouse like we saw. They're not up in the rankings like Hoover and Enterprise have been in the past years. But they are especially historically super dominant in front of their home crowd, going 229 and 171. Jeez. So the home field advantage will play a big part in this game. They have a deep threat, super accurate quarterback, senior number 8, Tucker Watkins. His throws are literally on a line, and the spiral is insane. It sets up his receivers in a good position and the offense in a good position to score. The wide receiver on this team is super deep. I think last game there was 8 different receivers that caught a target. So yeah, so that would be super effective. And overall, Auburn should really watch out for this Dothan team that's on a roll right now.
Dothan's defense played very good against Percy Julian last week, only allowing them only a touchdown in that game. Very impressive performance.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this Dothan team. You think offense, but like you said, against Percy Julian, only 6 points.
I mean, it is Percy Julian.
Yeah, it is Percy Julian. To be fair, it is Percy Julian. But, I mean, this Dothan High team, well, the one thing they've lacked in the past couple of years, I mean, I think we talked about it on an episode when Auburn played them in the playoffs last year, is that their offense was great. They've always been scorching hot, especially under Coach Kennedy. But can their defense get it done? And they just couldn't last year. That was their one roadblock. But they showed it against Percy Julian and in week 1 as well, only allowing 14. So they've only allowed a total of 20 points this year. And we'll see if they can continue that against Auburn. And speaking of Auburn, let's talk about the Tigers, who are 1-1 overall and 0-1 in the region after a tough loss last week against the Enterprise Wildcats at home by a score of 17-16. I know I hear the sides. It was a tough loss, but we'll see if they can bounce back tonight against the Wolves. And considering this Auburn team was a 10-point favorite going into that game, according to AHS, FHS.org, that was a lot of people thought Tigers would win that game, weren't able to pull it out, and so hopefully they can bounce back as only 2-point favorites against Dothan. With all that being said, how do the Auburn Tigers get it done tonight against the Wolves?
Yeah, Auburn's offense, even though the score doesn't show it, they didn't play that bad last week. We only had a total of 14 first downs, however, and Jackson Kilgore did have 3 interceptions and a 48% completion rate. So we kind of shot ourselves in the foot with the turnovers. However, every negative game has some positives on offense. I want to highlight Omar Mabson. I feel like we do that every single week. He had 15 carries for 83 yards, and he scored the only touchdown for the Tigers. Yeah, like I said, I feel like I see this every week. He's a complete dog. He's so good. Our receivers played great. 6 different receivers getting a catch, including Cody Palmer for 54 yards and 3 catches, and of course Ian Nation for 54 yards with 4 catches. The only negative for Auburn was the O-line holding their blocks. I mean, it was horrible. Jackson had no time. He's a young quarterback in his second varsity start. He had no time to throw at all. But yeah, there's a lot of positives to build off of for this game versus Dothan. I think the Auburn offense can do it.
I thought Auburn's defense was actually the strong suit of our team last week. Last week it was a defensive battle against Enterprise. Now we had 72 tackles for 3 sacks. Our defense played very, very good, and we're looking for a bounce-back victory against Dothan
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, you could talk a lot about this Auburn's defense last game because they were our true bright spot. And like you said, also on offense, I mean, you made a good point. I mean, we did okay on offense, but it's really just the turnovers. And if you listen
they killed us.
Yeah, and if you listen to Wednesday's episode of Play Callers, I mean, you know, we talk about it in the coach's interview with Etheridge. He talked about you can't have 4 turnovers and win games. Like that's just it's not something that's going to happen. So if they can limit those turnovers this game against Dothan, they can have a good chance of winning. And with that being said, this is the second in-region game for both teams. So there's a lot to play for tonight. High stakes, and like I said before, the all-time series is literally one-sided with Auburn leading 4-0 going into this game. However, if Auburn does not improve on some of the mistakes that they made last game against Enterprise, they could end up losing to Dothan for the first time in history. That being said, what are some things that Tigers need to improve on in order to come out to this game with a W?
Like I said in the last segment, the decision-making by Jackson Kilgore was not the best. But he almost had no time to throw. Like, the O-line was just not blocking for him. The Enterprise defense got to him almost every single pass play that we ran. Also, like you said, turnovers absolutely killed the Auburn team. Fumble leading to a scoop and score, which automatically, gave Enterprise the win, basically. And an interception that led to the 8-yard line for an easy run by the Enterprise running back for a touchdown. So we need to not turn the ball over. We need to win the turnover battle and give our young quarterback some time to get his reads, you know. But yeah.
Listen, the defense, they had a fantastic game, but one thing that we need to improve on is probably turnovers. We had 0 turnovers against Enterprise, where they had 3 turnovers on us. We got to create more turnovers, get some good field position for the offense, and we should be good tonight.
Yeah, I mean, turnovers are key in a game, especially like this where they're 2 really good teams. I mean, they literally decide a game, and they literally decided last game. I mean, you didn't even mention end of the game.
I mean, one less turnover, we would have been
Exactly.
2-0.
Yeah,
probably
exactly.
number 2 in the state still. But.
Exactly. But you like Coach Etheridge said, you give up all those turnovers, and it's just not possible, really.
Yeah.
So, I mean, against Dothan, we'll definitely see turnovers come into play, I feel like, in this game. And with that being said, let's move into keys to the game segment. Now, Auburn has different X factors that can help them take over a game. What do you think those X factors are or will be in tonight's game?
So, you know, I'm the offensive guy, but I love a good run game. And Auburn definitely does have it. They have Omar Mabson, of course, and Tyler Flakes. I mean, we can't even say that one's the starter because they both play so much. They both get an even number of attempts. It was stellar last week with Omar going for 83 yards and Tyler going for 30 yards. So this is one of the best running back duos we've seen in high school football history. And Dothan better watch out for it because it's the hardest to stop. And if we can get our run game going and run the game at our pace by getting our run game going, this could be a long night for Dothan.
Listen, watching the Enterprise game, there was one thing that stuck to me, and that was tackling. We had 72 tackles that game. If we could keep that tackling, keep giving them pressure, Dothan should not be a problem for our Tigers.
Yeah, I mean, Auburn, like you said, flies to the ball. I mean, and if we're going to be honest, going into this game, I feel like with Enterprise and Hoover, we kind of had like a similar talent level. I feel like Auburn does have like the better players when it comes down to it.
And they have more depth,
Exactly.
for sure.
We have more depth, so hopefully we can use that to our advantage. And with that being said, we're going to move into tonight's player profiles where we will each highlight one player on offense, defense, and one on special teams. And who do y'all have as those player profiles tonight for the matchup against Dothan?
Last year, Cal, the offensive guy, talked about this guy almost every single week. I got to talk about him. I got to highlight him. I got to go with the outside weapon, star wide receiver. Number 9, senior Ian Nation. He's a nightmare for secondaries, and we can just see him rack up yards every single game with ease. Almost feels like every time you throw him the ball, he catches it. He's going to make a stellar catch. He can route run, he can moss, and he's only 5'9".
Yeah.
I mean, if you can jump that high and you're only 5'9", you're going to be a star wide receiver. He can even run the jet sweep, kind of throw the defense off to the outside. He has wheels. He can run the wildcat effectively, which we might see that a lot this game. He's an absolute dog and is due for a big game against Dothan. Get his senior campaign going.
My player profile is senior Wyatt Trexler. He's a middle linebacker. This guy led our team with 12 tackles to win East Alabama Orthopedic Sports Medical Player of the Week.
Long title.
Yeah. At 6 foot, 196 pounds, he should be a force down in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, you speak of forces. I mean, you got Wyatt, but you also, on special teams, you got number 71, J.R. Buckner, the long snapper. He's currently the number 24 ranked long snapper in the class of 2024 in the nation. And he's committed to Auburn University this past summer. And at 6 foot, 245 pounds, Buckner's the full package. I mean, he can block, he can snap.
We talked about it with Coach Smith on
Exactly,
play callers, and like his mindset is just insane.
Yeah, I mean, part of that amazing special teams unit that Coach Smith is able to coach. And now we're going to send you to a quick commercial break, but don't go away because coming up is the Friday night lineup. Don't go away. Welcome back to AHS Countdown, and so far this season we have seen both current co-presidents Cordy Burt and Leah Hardy go 4-3 on the Friday night lineup. So we'll see if this week's special guest can be the first to hit the 5-win mark. So please help me in welcoming this week's special guest picker. He is currently the communications director of HiDef, and sources tell me that he is legally blind without glasses on. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Carson Hester. Now, Carson, as someone who has been part of HiDef last year as a sophomore and this year as a junior, what would you say has been your favorite part about being in the HiDef club?
I think my favorite part of being in HiDef is the people. I really enjoy the people that I get to be surrounded around, and it's a joy to be with them.
That's awesome.
AHS game day, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. AHS game day. And with that being said, we're going to pick who we think is going to win tonight's biggest games across the state in the Friday night lineup. And we're going to start off with a Region 2 at Region 2 matchup between Percy Julian, who just came off a loss to Dothan, and they are 1-1, 0-1 in the region, and they go to Opelika, who just came off a big win against Jag to start off the year 1-0 in the region, and they're 1-1 on the year. Who do y'all got between Percy Julian and the Bulldogs?
Hey, man, both of these teams are pretty bad. But Opelika does have a good offense. I think that's their strong suit. And against Thompson, it really wasn't as bad as we thought it would be.
I mean,
they kept it close the first 3 quarters, and then Thompson, of course, ran away with it because Thompson is Thompson. But shout out Opelika. I think they get a big win against Percy Julian to move to 2-1.
I would also give it to Opelika. I think they're just a hop, skip, and jump away, and they're our next-door neighbors. So, and then they have an amazing quarterback, Roman Gagliano. So I would give it to Opelika.
I'm gonna go with Percy Julian because I'm not picking the Bulldogs.
This is why we laugh at him.
Hey, it's fair. I mean, I don't like picking rivals as well, to our Auburn Tigers, but I'm gonna go with Opelika as well on this one. I mean, Percy Julian. One thing, they're in a transition year. Just changed their name, changed their coach, changed basically everything about them. And they're going on the road to Opelika, who, like you said, I mean, that Thompson game, I actually watched back some of the game. Yeah, they didn't play horribly. I mean, they actually looked pretty decent.
Opelika home crowd is insane.
Exactly. Opelika home crowd is insane. They always give Auburn a test whenever they go there, even before they were in 7A. So I got the Bulldogs on this one, winning at home against the Phoenix. Next, we got another Region 2 at Region 2 matchup. This time it's between Smith Station, who's 0-2, and 0-1 in the region after getting blown out by Central last week, 51-0. And they go to Prattville, who's 0-1 coming off of a bye week, but they lost their first game 45-19 against Foley. So they'll look to bounce back. Who do y'all got between Smith Station and Prattville? Who's getting their first win?
Prattville is favored by 17 in this game, and I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Prattville's going to win. Smith Station probably won't win all season. So go Prattville Lions.
I would also have to choose Prattville because they have a high-powered offense, and my family just personally doesn't really like Smith Station that much. Sorry, Dillard.
I'm gonna go with the Prattville.
I'm pretty sure their mascot is the Lions.
Yeah.
But yeah, both of these teams, they're not going to be super relevant this year when it comes to the playoff race. I mean, Prattville might. We'll have to see if they can bounce back after that Foley loss. We'll see if they win this game and they win it by a big margin. It'll really show how good Foley is.
I think they definitely cover the 17.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, Smith Station, it's just tough for them. I mean, I said it on the first week when we did the AHS countdown when they played, I think it was a 5A school. They weren't ranked either. I said, but they were a good team, to be fair. But I said if Smith Station doesn't win that game, they're probably not going to win all season. And they lost 51-10. So, I mean, it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough to be a Panthers fan, so I'm going to go with the Lions.
Basketball season, Panthers fans.
Yeah, just wait.
Just wait a little bit.
Just wait a little bit. It's right around the corner. But, yeah, I got Prattville on this one all the way. Next, we got Region 3 at Region 3, and it's going to be number 10 Hoover, who's coming off 2 tough losses, one to the Tigers, and then one to Oak Grove, who you might not have heard of them, but they are a good team. Number 10 team ranked in all of Mississippi. Yep. So they lost to them in overtime, and they go on the road to play Spain Park, who's 2-0, and they have the not third, not second, but first ranked defensive end in the class of 2024 in Jared Smith. Absolute dog. Who do y'all got between Hoover and Spain Park?
Y'all might think this is crazy, but this game has an even line. Neither one of these teams are favored. This is literally a coin toss. I think you could flip a coin. If it's heads, you pick Hoover. If it's tails, you pick Prattville. And Spain Park. My coin landed on tails, so I picked Spain Park. I think their home crowd shows up. I know a bunch of people that graduated from Spain Park. Beautiful campus, beautiful area of Birmingham. I do think this game, I mean, the home crowd might not be as big because it's both in Birmingham. Yeah. I think both teams will be there. I think this will be an absolute joy to watch. That's the word. I'm gonna have to go with Spain Park Jaguars.
I think I'm gonna have to go with Hoover. Sorry, Taylor. I'm gonna do the opposite. I know that I'm pretty sure this is gonna be a close game, but I hope Hoover will get their first win in front of a hectic home crowd.
I'm going to go with Hoover as well. I think they're going to get their first win of the season.
No, you're crazy.
I don't like saying it all the time, but I do have to agree with Taylor on this one. Like you said, it's a coin toss, and I think it's kind of crazy that the line is exactly 0. I don't think we've had one all year so far. So an exact 0 line, you got to go with the home crowd. Spain Park, like you said, a lot of great people have graduated from there, great school. And I've looked at their past few matchups. I don't remember the exact scores, but they weren't close. They've whooped their last 2 opponents, Spain Park has. So
I don't get how Hoover's still ranked number 10.
Yeah, I know. That is kind of wild. And this will be, kind of like the dagger for Hoover if they lose this game. So I think it's going to be really close. It's going to be a dogfight. Watch it on NFHS if you can. And I got Spain Park. I gotta agree with Taylor. I got Spain Park winning this one. Next, we got Region 1 at Region 1. This usually isn't a huge matchup, but both these teams are having up years. It's number 9 Foley, who's 2-0, and like I said, beat Prattville to start the season. And they go on the road against number 8 Mary Montgomery, who's kind of been behind the scenes. Nobody's really talked about them, but they're 2-0 as well, and they've whooped their last 2 opponents. So who do you all got between Foley and Mary Montgomery?
Mary Montgomery is favored in this game by 4, but looking at their past opponents, they just haven't played strong teams. Yeah, they've won by a lot, but Foley has had the experience so far this season with a decent Prattville team. I got to go with Foley. They've had a hot start, and I love their high-scoring offense. They've put up like 40+ in both their games. Yeah. So I'm going to have to go with the upset here. I'm going to have to go with the Foley Lions again.
I think I'm going to go with Mary Montgomery. Honestly, I just like their name better.
That's why we argue at everything.
But I believe they've had a good first outing in their first 2 games, and I hope that they keep it rolling through the Foley Lions.
I'm going to agree with Taylor. I'm going with Foley as well to win this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great one. We got so many good games this week. Me and Taylor were talking about it earlier. Last week, all the matchups were kind of like, they weren't great, crazy big-time matchups. But all of the results set up all of these big matchups. We're about to talk about 3 huge ones in a second here. This one also going to be a great matchup, going to be a dogfight. And I'm going to go with Foley as well. Perry Thompson, I'm pretty sure I've talked about him on the show whenever they played Prattville. Commit to Auburn, and I think he's the number 3 wide receiver in the nation for next year's class of 2024. Absolute dog. And yeah, I got Foley on the road. Going to be close though, very close. And next, like I said, we're talking about some great matchups. A top 5 matchup, and probably the hardest team that Thompson is going to have to face. We got Region 3 against Region 3, number 4 Vestavia Hills, who's 2-0 and has absolutely whooped up Mountain Brook and absolutely whooped up Homewood 43-0 last week in a game that some people thought was going to be kind of close, not really, but kind of close. And they go on the road against number 1 Thompson Warriors, the state champs. They're 1-0. They got a bye week last week, but it was because the IMG game got canceled. Unfortunate stuff because of the hurricane. But they get a chance to bounce back this week, and they go up against Vestavia Hills. Who do y'all got between the Warriors and the Rebels?
I mean, what a game this is. Me and you are going to Dothan, but if we weren't going to Dothan, we would be going to Alabaster. Thompson is actually favored by 6 in this game. Of course, they're favored.
Yeah, that's kind of
Both
close,
teams
though.
have such high-powered offenses. Thompson led by, of course, 9th grader GOAT Trent Seaborn. We saw him torch Auburn last year. Let's not talk about it. But this Vestavia team has not had a home game yet.
Yeah, I know.
They're going for their 3rd straight road win, and I think they get it.
Oh,
Give me the Vestavia Hill Rebels,
shoot.
moving to 3-0 and getting the
Here we
biggest
go.
upset of the state of the entire year. Go Vestavia Hills.
Wow.
Shout out to my SSO friends.
I'm going to the opposite again. I think I'm going with Thompson. They're just too powerful. We've seen their power against us, which is sad. So Thompson it is.
No.
As much as I don't want to say this, Thompson is probably going to win. 4-time state champions. Should be an easy matchup.
Easy
Hey, I
is
wouldn't,
crazy.
yeah, I wouldn't say easy. This Vestavia Hills team, I mean, they beat Mountain Brook by 40+, and they beat Homewood by 40+. That
I mean,
Mountain Brook team,
Granted, both of those opponents are not.
exactly, they're not great. Mountain Brook is okay. Mountain Brook's an okay team. They played on the road, like you said, and they
Yeah.
whooped them, scored 40 on them. And so I'm gonna go. This is a tough one. Like, this is actually a coin toss for me. I want to say Vestavia Hills, but I'm going to go with Thompson. Just for the sake of picking it. I hope that
Hey,
Vestavia
y'all just watch.
wins.
Next week,
Yeah.
8-0.
Hey, we will see. We will see. But I'm going to go with the Thompson Warriors. They just look so good right now. And like you said, Trent Seaborn, that defense is always great. Always chock full of 5 and 4 stars on that team. So I'm going to go with the Thompson Warriors. Close, though. Once again, very close. And now we got another game that I think is the ASWA Game of the Week this week, and it's number 2 Central, Region 2 at Region 2. Number 2 Central is 2-0 and 1-0 in the region after whooping Smith Station 51-0 last week, and they go to the number 3 Enterprise Wildcats, who did just beat Auburn. I know, boo, but they're 2-0 on the year, and they're 1-0 in the region after beating the Tigers on a game-winning field goal. Who do y'all got between the Red Devils and the Wildcats?
Hey, Enterprise broke my heart last week. We had to do a show after the game, all sad and everything. So I'm not talking about anything good about them. I got Central.
Oh, wow.
Central's only favored by a touchdown, though. I thought that was actually pretty
That is,
surprising. Yeah, Central's too powerful. The Enterprise team looked decent, but I don't want to pick them again because I don't like them.
Yeah.
I also don't like both of these teams, so it's kind of a hard one. But Central is 47 in the nation according to Max Preps. They've scored a total of 98 points in their first 2 games. Granted, not huge opponents, but their quarterback, we were talking about him, Andre Alford.
Yeah.
I think he's a transfer from some school in Georgia. He will continue his hot start to his top target, Cam Coleman, who is averaging 127.5 yards a game.
Dog.
So
Dog.
I don't like to say this, but go Red Devils.
Oh, you pulled out the Go Red Devils.
Taylor and I are finally in agreement. I'm also going with Central. Their defense is so dominant, and I believe it will lead them to a win.
This is like a matchup where I don't want either team to win. Now, if I had to pick, I want Central to whoop Enterprise.
Okay, well, I got
This man got some beef with
Yeah, I
Enterprise
know,
over
with
here.
Enterprise. I mean, I feel like everybody in
I
Auburn
took
does at
the
this
walk
point.
of shame from that day.
But I got Central as well. I mean, this team is just they're so good this year. I
Who?
feel Central.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, Central. Yeah.
I was making sure
Yeah,
for a
no,
second.
I got Central on the road at Enterprise. I think it's going to be a close one again. All these are just such great matchups, and I'm going to watch them all back on tape and on NFHS. And yeah, so I got Central on the road. This team is just so stacked. And I believe that they legitimately have a chance to win it all this year. And so I got Central on the road. Go Red Devils. And now, lastly, our game of the night, Region 2. At Region 2, we got number 5 Auburn, who's 1-1 and 0-1 in the region after the loss against Enterprise. They look to bounce back on the road against number 6 Dothan High Wolves, who are 2-0 on the season and 1-0 in the region. Who do y'all got between the Tigers and the Wolves?
All right. I think this game is a coin toss, for real. Another coin toss. I like flipping coins. And I landed on heads, and that's Auburn. But, you know, I got to go in depth. Auburn is coming off a heartbreaking loss, of course, off that game-winning field goal. Both these offenses are so high-powered. It's just going to be a complete dogfight. It's going to be a shootout. It's going to be who can get a turnover, for real, is what I think.
Yeah,
both teams could just completely go off at this point. Auburn is barely favored by 2 points. Might see some switch-ups. Just stay tuned. But I do think we went off a Towns-Magoo field goal. Of course, it's going to be Towns. Give me the Tigers 42-39.
Ooh.
So barely covering the
score.
spread.
Yeah.
Definitely beating the over if they even do over/under for high school games. But I got the Auburn Tigers, of course, my alma mater on my shirt.
There you go.
Nowhere else on this, but yeah. All right, Frank, who do you got?
Well, obviously, I got the Auburn Tigers whooping Dothan.
Auburn Tigers.
Auburn Tigers. Yeah.
Auburn Tigers.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the Tigers as well. I think the Tigers are going to absolutely whoop on the Wolves. I think a lot of people, I feel like Auburn, this is a truly bounce-back game. And also, something I learned the other day, we haven't lost back-to-back games since 2016. We've never lost back-to-back games since Etheridge was a coach. So, before Etheridge was a coach. So, I mean, I don't think we do it here. I think we come back on the road. Coaches are ready, the players are ready, and we beat Dothan.
Blue collar mentality. They definitely are ready.
Like
Exactly.
Friday
Blue collar
night.
mentality. They're going to beat the Dothan High Wolves on the road. Give me them by 14. And Carson, who do you have?
I'm going to pick Auburn. I think that we have an amazing team and we have an amazing student section. And even though we had some setbacks during the game last week, I do believe that we will come back stronger and bounce back against Dothan tomorrow evening.
And that'll do it for AHS Countdown from myself as well as the rest of the crew here at AHS Countdown, as well as a very special thanks to our guest speaker, Carson Hester. We hope you enjoyed tonight's game, and we hope to see you next Tuesday when Auburn Flag Football takes on Dothan as well.